Happy New Year! My name is Drew, and if we haven't met before, welcome to ReadyBudgetGo. And if this isn't your first visit, welcome back. I'm always happy that you're here. This is the weekly reel where I share my real budget numbers, my real successes, and my real mistakes. This week, there's a doozy of a mistake that we need to cover. I'm also going to talk about how I finished in December and how I'm altering my plan for 2026 to account for this sort of dramatic change that has happened to my budget in the last week. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. I'm going to start, as I always do, with the cash dump, and that means I'm going to take any money that I didn't spend this last week in cash and put it toward a fund for my larger goals. So, I'm going to start with the change, and I have 2 pennies. So, not much, but 2 pennies is more than 2 pennies more than I had last week. And pennies are getting rare, so I don't know, I might hang on to these for a while. Okay, then we've got this pouch, which has the remainder of the cash that I didn't spend. Now, this week I started with 60, and I have 20, 30, 45, 46, 47, 48, $49 left. So that pouch is empty. This pouch is empty because this would hold my next week's money, and I haven't gone to the bank yet. So I don't have any ready cash for this week, but that's okay. I can borrow some out of here. So let's count up all the cash that I didn't spend in December, giving myself $50 a week. Well, it ended up being 60 in the last week because I took too much out of the bank, but that's okay. And I actually need to adjust the number for that. Okay, so let's give this a count here. Let me just move these pouches off to the side. So I've got 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 100, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50, 51, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, $158. This will be going into my sinking funds for 2026. I am actually going to use this as kind of the starter bank, and we'll see how that goes. I may need to, take money out. I may need to take money out of the bank to put in the sinking funds as time goes on, just because it'll get to be a lot, which is a good problem to have. I will talk more about how the sinking funds will work when I get to my next Monday video for Ready Budget Game. And I already made a video that went over my binders, and I talked about it a little bit, but I think it's one of those things that'll just make more sense once you see it in person, or once you see a video with me doing my sinking funds the new way. I know how it should work in my head, but it's kind of hard to explain. It's easier to show than tell, if that makes sense. Okay, so on my to-do list for Friday, for January 2nd, is to go to the bank and get more cash, because I need it for spending money, and I also need it for sinking funds. So I will make sure that I do that, but for now, let me put all of these away. And let's talk about the budget. So if you watched my Wednesday video, you know that I got a letter from the IRS saying that I owe about $4,400 in back taxes, which comes as a huge surprise. Had I known that I owed the IRS money, I would have paid it a long time ago. This is from tax year 2023. So it's been almost 2 years since I filed those taxes, because I would have filed them early in 2024, and the IRS is just now telling me that I owe this money. I do owe it. I went into all the detail in the Wednesday video, My Money Relaunch, so if you're interested in that, go back and watch it. But this is going to come out of my emergency fund, which means my emergency fund is now going to move to my number 1 priority. I mean, getting my business seated is still a high priority, but I think I'm okay. I really need to replenish the emergency fund. Now, if shove comes to shove harder, I do have the money in the big move that I will move into the emergency fund if need be. But if I don't fully replenish the emergency fund, that is going to delay the big move. So top priority is now the emergency fund, and I am going to have to squeeze my budget to find every spare dollar I can to put to the emergency fund, which may mean that I might make deposits to the emergency fund without doing savings challenges, just because I want that replenished at least to where it was in December of 2025, which was about $12,200. I already put $95 from the travel fund into the emergency fund. I zeroed out the travel fund. I won't show a screen capture of my Wealthfront account just yet because this last week's transactions haven't quite settled yet because of the holiday. When there's a holiday at the end of my week and my weeks end on Thursday, it kind of messes up my schedule for getting everything into my various accounts. So I did empty out the travel fund. What did I do? I put $95 into the emergency fund because that was what was left over. I put $250 into the big move for subscribers. I'll talk about that later. And I put $255. I can't remember. Anyway, once all of that shakes out, I will share what I did with the $800 that was in the travel fund. That will probably be in next week's weekly reel, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Okay, so let's talk about the December budget. So, first off, income. I got my second paycheck and it was lower than I expected. It was $29.66 as opposed to $29.97. And the reason is because when it's the last paycheck of the year, there's an adjustment for group term life insurance. So group term life is an employer benefit that many employers provide, and you cannot opt out of it. It's mandatory life insurance. So I don't need life insurance, but this policy they give to me, I don't pay the premium, but it is a taxable benefit. So anything over $50,000 worth of coverage is taxable. The premiums are taxable. It's this whole thing. So the upshot of all of that is I owed about $30 in income tax for that benefit. So that came out of my paycheck. And then cell phone reimbursement came in on time this month for $100, so that was good. And then in terms of bills, PUD did come out. This was while I was away, but I recorded it this week. So $53 on a budget of $60. Visible, which is my cell phone plan, was exactly as expected. Doctor office visit, I got the bill for the second visit. This $500 was supposed to be for the first visit, but I don't have that bill yet. But I got the bill for the second visit, which was $137, so I paid that. Prescriptions, I budgeted $100, but only spent $19. I will be spending more next month. It's going to be a whole thing. And then Orca, so I already had Orca up here, I think, yep, for $50. But there was an offer on one of my credit cards where if you spent $15 or more on transit or Uber, Lyft, anything like that, they would give you a $6 credit. So I made three $15 purchases for the Orca card, which is the local transit card here, and I got $18 in credits. So that worked out very well. It's 28 because so 15 minus 6 is 9, times 3 is 27, but one of them was like $15.30 because, anyway, to even out the balance, this whole thing. So $28 is the net amount that I put on Orca, even though I didn't necessarily need to. And so my total income here, $71.63, was over because primarily of that inheritance. Also, that $100 cell phone reimbursement from November was a carryover. And then bills totaled out at $3,051 on a budget of $34.96, and primarily because that doctor bill has yet to come in. Wallet spending this week was $311.03, and that actually needs to be $321.03 because I recorded the wrong amount for cash. So this will be $1103.83. Oops. $1103.83. Perfect. Okay. And I will need to correct that elsewhere. Stockpiles, primarily toward the big move, 1,268 on a budget of 1,250. I always say I'm going to put in at least what my budget amount is per week, but usually it's a few dollars more because I don't use IOUs. So 1,268 ended up going in for that. So I need to adjust this number here again. So that's 1103.83. And that means this needs to be a 4 instead of a 5. Okay, so not the prettiest, but we have the numbers. And I'll come back to referencing these numbers when we do the month in review a little bit later. Cash allocation, we don't need to review. That just tells me where everything is going that I plan for in the month. Cash flow. So the two deposits were cell phone reimbursement for $100 and paycheck 2. And then I had the savings transfer to the big move, which I forgot to record last week, so I recorded it this week. So that was $257 for last week. This week's was $250, and that came out of the travel fund. And then credit card payment, $485. So now I just need to make sure that everything balances, because I wrote down the numbers, and I did the totals, but I didn't do the check. So $3,585 was the starting balance. Deposits of $75.6405, and withdrawals of $72.31.74. $38.33.16, which is exactly as the balance in my checking account is, so that's good. Okay, expense tracker. So I have 2 pages here. First, for last week, if you watched last week's weekly reel, then you'll know that I did a short week because I was going out of town and I was going to use the travel fund to pay all of those expenses. So $456.53 was coming out of the travel fund. What I ended up doing is, so this is how it worked. I was going to have to transfer the money from Wealthfront into my checking account to pay that back, and then transfer money from my checking account into Wealthfront for various savings goals. So I just decided to just empty the travel fund and use that to fund the other pots in Wealthfront. So I just want to make sure that everything shakes out, and I still need to take the money out of the emergency fund to pay the IRS. So next week I will have that full update for you. Then this week's expenses. This is going to be 60. Yeah, it's not really giving me that. There we go. So I had Apple, $14. That was for a movie that I bought. McDonald's, Value Village, I just did some thrifting, about $6. Costco order, $160 for food and whatnot. That I got quite a lot. So hopefully groceries for this week won't be that bad. McDonald's again, Safeway grocery store for food, $31, and then an Instacart restaurant order for $31, and then $60 in cash. So that came out to the total at the beginning, which was $321.03. So a little bit over, but I was way under last week because I was using the travel fund to pay most of the weekly expenses. So together, I was about $100 short of what I budgeted for the month, which is pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about the month in review. So these are all the same numbers from the budget overview sheet, and I made notes here as to why there were discrepancies, right? So the income was higher because of the November cell phone reimbursement and because of an inheritance coming in. Bills were short because that doctor bill will be in January instead of December, so there's going to be a carryover for that. And then the wallet spending was under because of travel. And I'm not going to redo all these numbers. It's only off by $10, and it is what it is. So weekly spending like mostly lined up due to using the travel fund for my away week. That was good. I was over all the other weeks, but not by too much, about 10% at the most. I did receive a small inheritance, and I might receive the same every year. I don't know. I don't know that that's a one and done. It is, there was a larger sum, and my aunt and my uncle were the two heirs. And so I don't know if they are investing that and then paying it out to us every year, or if they're putting it in a trust or spending it on other things. I really have no idea what that will be like. But I got some money, which is good. Okay, what needs improvement? So I need to develop a plan for unexpected windfalls and implement that plan right away when unexpected funds arrive. So this $1,000 check, I mean, I'm grateful to have it. I'm very happy. But at the same time, when it arrived, I thought, oh, what do I do with this? And I didn't have an immediate answer. And so I want to make sure that the next time something like that happens, I think, okay, if any expected money comes in, no matter what the source is, that I know where to put it so that it doesn't just fritter away. I think what I will do is say that my goal list is my North Star for that. So whatever goal I'm working on, that's where that money goes. That sounds reasonable to me. I don't want to just put it in checking account and then, cash just disappears. I try to track that very closely here, but I'm human. Who knows, right? And then things to remember for this time next year, the final December paycheck includes the group term life insurance tax adjustment, and so that was $30 less that I got in my paycheck, which is totally fine, but I would like to hopefully remember that that's coming for next year. Okay, so into January, just real quick, because I'm filming this on the 1st, and I've only had 2 transactions, which is my rent payment and the water sewer garbage. So rent was bang on. Water sewer garbage was just under what I budgeted. I always budget 100, it's always under, but this week it was pretty close, or this month it was pretty close. So that's all that I have for January, no paychecks till the 15th. Wallet spending, the first week starts today as you're watching this on the 2nd. So on next week's weekly reel, I will have this week's spending. Then we have the stockpiles, we have the extra debt and everything. So, So I recorded the doctor office visits 1, 2, and 3. So one of these was already paid, and it was this one. So I don't need to worry about that. Okay. Alrighty, so that is it for January. So now let's talk about savings. And before I do that, now let's just jump into it because it won't take too long because I've already talked about it quite a bit. Okay, so emergency fund. So I did the emergency fund builder, came out with $13,775, decided I wanted to bump that up to $15,000. I had shared this sheet previously. Let me scoot this over a little bit. There we go. I'd shared this sheet previously. I did this last year where I filled it up to get to the $12,210. I need to print a new one of these to reflect the new balance once the $4,500 or whatever it's going to be comes out to pay the IRS. So this number will change. This number will stay the same, but all the steps in between will be different. And I'll work on building it up from there. I will also write down that I deducted some money when that happens, and that should be this next week because I want to get that IRS debt paid as soon as possible. Blip fund, not working on it. Emergency fund is top priority, so we'll come back to that later. And then we have subscriptions. So this is accurate as to when I'm filming. I am at 794 subscribers. Many of you joined in the last week. Thank you so much. I am so happy to have you. So I was like here, and now I filled in 4 more bubbles, and that's 40 people. I mean, that's a lot, and I'm just beside myself. I'm so happy that you've decided to hit subscribe. It is a vote of confidence in me and what I'm doing, and it warms my heart, truly. So, in terms of savings, again, this is money that came out of the travel fund, so I just transferred it to another pot in Wealthfront, and again, I'll show the screen capture next week. So we are at $39.50. This is going toward the big move, which is where I'm planning on moving to another state in 2026. It looks like it's going to be Ohio. Don't know that for sure yet, but that is where the wind is blowing currently. Well, actually, I don't know if it's windy there, but that is where the winds of my life are blowing. So that will be $5,000 when it's all said and done for 1,000 subscribers. If I don't get there by the time I'm ready to move, that's okay. I still enjoy filling in this tracker and watching my subscriber count grow, because who doesn't love that, right? It's a huge boost to my confidence. This money normally comes from Etsy Pay. So there's two ways that you can support me. One is by subscribing, and thank you if you've done that already. And the other is by shopping on my Etsy shop, because that is the money that I use to fund this. I have a launch that I did at the end of December, and it has gone gangbusters. Far better than I ever expected. So for those of you who support me on Etsy or Ko-fi, thank you so much. I just can't tell you that how happy I am that the designs that I make are things that resonate with folks. That's really awesome. Okay, so enough about that. Big Move books. This is frozen until, well, I put in this last week's. Again, that came from the travel fund. But now this is frozen until the emergency fund is back to at least $12,210. I may hold off until the emergency fund is fully funded at $15,000. We'll see, because this is also a $15,000 goal, and I am $63.93 here plus $39.50 here, so I'm over $10,000. So I'm 2/3 of the way there, but still quite a ways to go. So we'll see how the rest of the year shakes out, and how things progress. I don't know what my income is going to be exactly. I don't know about bonuses, anything like that. So we'll see. And then we've got the Roth IRA, or the Sloth IRA. I have not started this yet, and I will not until the emergency fund is fully funded, but this will be high on my next priorities, this and the Blip Fund. So once the emergency fund is at $15,000, and the Big Move Fund is on its way again, then I will start contributing to my IRA for 2026. So that is it. That was a lot, I know. Thank you for watching all the way through. If you did, if you're still here, I appreciate each and every one of you. I can't say that enough. All the time that you spend with me and watching the watch hours grow is like I say, it is such a boost to my confidence, and it lets me know that other people like what I'm doing and makes me feel I'm on the right track in some way. So thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below, because I do love hearing from you. And until I see you in the next one, which will be Monday for Ready Budget Game, take care.